Well, hello everyone, and happy Wednesday. I did not get a whole lot accomplished yesterday, or the last few days, because yesterday I kind of feel like I wasted my whole day. So I'm not sure what I should do. A lot of people say pre-wash your fabric, and a lot of people say it's not necessary. Now, I think if you're making a wearable, yes, you need to pre-wash it and get any shrinking out of the way. But if you're just doing a craft item, is it necessary? I mean, if the fabric had an odor to it, yes. But if it doesn't have an odor to it, is it really necessary? I don't know. But yesterday, well, make a long story short, the first time I ever threw fabric in to wash it before I used it, I didn't do anything with the ends. And I had this big shredded thread ball, if you want to call it that. But I lost at least a quarter of my fabric. So I decided I'm going to zigzag stitch the sides because I do not have pinking shears. The raw edges, throw them in the wash and in the dryer. Make a long story short, I started at 9 o'clock in the morning and I finished at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and I got three sleeves made. But I took two pieces that the color I knew that I wanted to use and did those first. And then while they were washing and drying, I was doing the edges of all the fat quarters and everything so that I can get them thrown in. And it's so time consuming. I mean, I don't have a serger. I've always wanted a serger, so I might have to get myself one. So I was having to use a regular zigzag stitch on the sewing machine, and it took forever. The machine goes really slow on the zigzag. But yeah, so I managed to get 3 things made yesterday. And I had big plans of getting a lot done, because when I decide to take this stuff to market with me, I kind of thought just to even have a decent presentation, I would need a dozen of each, zipper pouches or whatever it is that I finally decide on for those smaller type items. Now, bigger items, like if I decide that I'm going to do the tote bags, I don't think that I need to have a dozen of those to take with me because they just take up a lot of space. But for the little things that will have to be displayed on a table, I just kind of felt like a dozen was a good number. I am nowhere near that. So I don't know if I'm going to take this stuff with me Friday or not. I don't think that I can get enough finished by then. I mean, I have to put everything that I have made, that I've crocheted, in my inventory, and recharge my lights and recharge my power bank and all that good stuff. Repack my car because my car was used for going to a graduation ceremony, and we needed to be able to see. So I have to reload all that, and I wanted to rotate some of my stock around, take some things that have been at home for a while and some things that have been just kind of there at the market, and rotate some stuff out so that it has a whole new fresh look, along with some of the new things that I have been making. So let me get my little bit of sewing out of the way first, and then I'll show you the few items that I was able to crochet. So day before yesterday, after I did my deal with myself and crocheted my items for the day, I was able to make 2 pouches. I did this one. Now, I did not put a closure on this. I was looking on Etsy and some of the other sewing channels that sew to sell, and a lot of the people that are making these don't have a closure. Some of them have the button and the elastic. Some have zippers in the top. It I guess depends on the individual. But this one fits my iPad with its case on it, because the case adds about this much to how wide it is. It doesn't make it any longer, but in the width, it makes it about this much wider. But I wanted to do it using that. Now, Jenna has a different type of case on hers, which is a lot slimmer. Actually, I'm thinking her iPad might be a little bit smaller than mine. I'd have to put them side by side. But I thought I bought us the same ones. Not sure. But anyways, this swallows hers up. And she has a protective case on hers too. So I'm going to have to get her measurements and make some that would fit her style case as well as mine. But this I used 3 different fabrics. This is the only place that this was used, was on the front pocket. This here, I put the border around it. Trim is the same as the lining. And this was a fat quarter pack. It's very hard for me to look at black and whites like this. It messes with my eyes, especially if it's polka dots or small stripes. Whew. But I just think this is very pretty. So I did that one. And on the same day, I love this fabric too. It's so nice. I made a small one. And no closure on this one either. But isn't that just the prettiest? And again, this particular fabric is fabric that I've had since 2020. But it's so pretty. So I do a few extra steps that the pattern that I'm following doesn't call for, like the trim. But also the lining, I do put a interfacing on it, and then I use a fusible fleece, especially if the lining is a light color, because, well, no, I did not on the lining. I put the interface in the pocket. They don't call for that. But if it's a very see-through fabric, interfacing helps with that too. There are some that I have done that on. So we have this one. I don't know. It's just so pretty. It's very elegant looking. And then after I did that one, I was thinking, I really want to have a closure of some type on them. I mean, it's okay to have the options and everything. So I decided if I added an inch to the length, that I can put the snap where it goes through both sides. So after all my laundering yesterday and ironing, let me tell you about ironing. Oh my gosh. Even though I pulled that fabric out of the dryer before the dryer stopped, what a wrinkled mess I had on my hands. So I ironed. Wasn't doing any good. So I looked it up. And I'm like, I don't want to put water in my new iron. So I used a spray bottle and had to mist it. And then I ironed and it was getting better. And then I had to do it again. So those pieces of fabric were ironed like 3 times. Now the bigger pieces, the full yard and the 2 yard, those were a little difficult for me to do because I do not have an ironing board. I know, that is so weird. So I'm having to, how do you say it? I'm having to jerry rig an ironing board or table. Yeah. So it's very awkward to do the bigger pieces. The smaller pieces, it's fine. But there was no way I could cut that as wrinkled as it was. So this one was the first fabric that I wanted to do. I just think these colors are gorgeous. So it is an inch taller. I'll show you next to this one. And that allowed me to put the snap closure on there. I just think it needed a closure, but I don't like the look of the elastic and even like getting the tab the right size, you know. So that was my solution to that. So this one, I just used 2 fabrics. This is the pocket and the back panel, and then I used the same color here as the lining. So I was happy with that, how that turned out. Also, I decided to try, if I cut my fusible fleece a 1/2 inch smaller, because this uses a 1/4 inch seam, then I can sew right along the fleece, and when I turn it, it's so much easier and looks so much more crisp. You don't have all that bulkiness at the edge. And I got a few little threads I need to trim here. I don't know, looks a lot cleaner. And then I did this one. So this was a fat quarter. And Jenna gave me this pink fabric. So, and it got the snap. And funny thing about this size, my good sewing machine, you know how when you pop the tray off and it gives you the little piece where you're supposed to put a sleeve around it to, you know, to crochet around that, or crochet, to sew around that circle. These do not fit on my machine. So I have to break out the other machine, which is like a speed demon, because that little arm, I don't know what to really call it, is a 1/2 inch smaller. And it makes all the difference in the world. And I cannot use clips because the clips get stuck. It just makes it really hard to do that part. So there is that. So I could get everything done except for going around and sewing the lining on. Then I have to flip it and do the top stitching, and I have to break out the other machine for that. I mean, you barely touch that foot pedal and it like zoom, just takes right off. So we did this one, and then this one. And again, this was a fat quarter, and I used it for the back piece and the front piece. This fat quarter and this fat quarter both came from Hobby Lobby, and this came from Walmart. And it has the same lining as this part here. So I think these turned out good, and I don't think that they look bad being that little bit taller to add that snap. So this is all I did for sewing. It takes me forever to cut because you have 2 front pieces, 2 lining pieces, the pocket piece. Then you have 2 fusible fleece. And then because I add the interfacing to the pocket to give it stability, you have that piece. And then if I decide to put the little trim piece on, then there's that piece. It's a lot of cutting. And I'm like, maybe I shouldn't try to be such a perfectionist, but it's gotta look. Because I know, I'm gonna be honest, I have been looking at zoomed in photos, and I'm like, my sewing is just fine when I look at these other people's sewing, because, you know, you see slight little squiggles in the stitch line, and it doesn't look perfect, but I sit there and I am so hard on myself because I want it to be perfect. I don't know. Anyways, let's move past sewing. So we did some crocheting, and the deal that I had made with myself was 1 large item or 3 small items in a day, and then I'm allowed to go play and sew. So I actually have, let's see. So we had Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, 3 days. I have 3 big items and 4 small items. So I did a little better than expected. So I like to watch Tracy at Travel Crochet. If you guys haven't seen her channel, you should check her out. She's over in Australia, and her channel is called Travel Crochet because her and her husband used to travel around Australia. Well, after several years of doing this, they finally decided it's time to stop doing that and plant themselves in one place. I was going to say, if you haven't checked her out, you should check her out. She's pretty funny. And it's funny because she probably started her plushie journey about the same time I did. And if you go back to some of her older videos and to now, even with mine, you go back to older videos to now, you can see such major progress. It's so cool. And I've been following her since her 3rd video. So I do enjoy watching her channel. Anyways, she makes a stitch, like Lilo and Stitch, that you do not have to do felt eyes. So I went, after watching her video a few days ago, she had the link in the description, and I went over and I bought the pattern. And it came with the Lilo doll and Stitch, but then there was another package that came with Lilo, Stitch, and I think it's a mini scrump. I think. Don't quote me. But anyways, I just got the one that had Lilo and Stitch. I did not make Lilo, but I did make Stitch. And it turned out pretty good, except for the fact I didn't have big enough eyes. And we all know how I have been struggling with the backs on some of those eyes cracking on me. So I'm scared to use some of those bigger eyes. And I haven't ordered any more because I want to know what kind of back they're going to give me. I might just have to get away from the sinker eyes. Although with the sinker eyes, sometimes it takes care of the face shaping and you don't have to do it. Anyways, the eyes that I had available that I could use were 18 millimeters solid black. I mean, they're big, but I think a 22 millimeter would have been better than an 18 millimeter. But anyways, this is my stitch, and he is different looking, but you can definitely tell that this is Stitch. Now, I did him out of chenille brights, and this is denim for the blue. It took less than a skein of that, and then just a little bit of this lighter blue. But I don't have enough to make a second one, so I have to place an order, but I don't want to order till I know that I need other colors, like, because I got to get the free shipping. So it does call for using a safety nose, but I embroidered my nose on. And then those are the 18 millimeter safety eyes. Now, I think like right here, I might go in and clean that up, clear that out. I don't know. It looks all right. But it was crochet in the arms. You got to sew the head on and sew the ears onto the head. But on the head, they don't have you close it. And you don't close the body. And I'm not a fan of that. So I went ahead and closed the head. I just feel more comfortable with my sewing if it's closed. So we did stitch, and he is a fairly good size. So we did that. And then from the same pattern designer, and Tracy makes these all the time, and they just look so cute. So I bought this, the whole package, and I've only made the one. There are 2 others. It comes with 4, and there are 2 others in the package that I want to do, but I just haven't had the chance. Maybe because I'll get to crochet some today and some tomorrow. Maybe. Maybe I can get one of them done before Friday. So here's my Shrek. And he doesn't quite have that Michael Myers facial expression. But I actually have another Shrek pattern that I was going to do. And I was comparing the 2. And this one was a lot less sewing. So I decided to go with this one. And again, it is a fairly decent size. I only made the one. And I did use brights again. So this is chocolate, caramel. The off-white, I think they call it antique white. Kind of looks like a cream color. And then, oh, I forget what they call this green shade. Like, I know in Parfait Chunky, it's kiwi, I think. I don't know. But I think it turned out pretty cute. Now, I wish I could have captured that, like, Michael Myers facial expression, but this will work. So I think it was a very easy pattern to follow. The only thing I will say about both of these patterns, and I am a stickler for this, at no point does it tell you to stuff. Like, do the arms get stuffed? I don't know. Especially when it's the first time I do a pattern, I am doing exactly what the pattern says. And if it doesn't tell me to stuff at some point, I could get to the point where it's too late. Now, I have gotten better about that, but I do honestly think that there needs to be at somewhere like start stuffing here, continue to stuff, some type of stuffing notation, especially for new people. So then my other big item, my last big item, I bought a while back a pattern from Miss A Crochet, and it was for Totoro. And any of them that I have made, I've sold. But I saw this other pattern, and it was free, that I liked better. Or, I can't say that I liked the pattern better. I liked the look of the end results better. So I tried the new one, and I should have picked the darker gray. I'll know better next time. Because, yes, I would make this again. It's, like, it's adorable. But I think it would look better in a darker gray. And here is Totoro. He's a beast. He is so huge. But what I liked about this pattern versus Miss A Crochet's pattern is it has shape to the face. And I don't know. I think there's more sewing in this one than the other one. Like, you have to sew on the arms, you have to sew on the little muzzle, you have to sew on the ears, you have to sew on the tail, you have to sew on the feet. They say to put the feet on it so that it'll stand. And honestly, mine stood up better without the feet. So maybe I put them in the wrong spot. I don't know. But again, this one tells you when it comes to the parts, stuffing is optional. So I chose not to stuff. I felt like they felt thick enough. on their own. Oh, and also you have to sew the belly patch on. But I think it would have looked better in the darker gray. And he's a fatty. Look at how fat he is. This took a lot of stuffing. When I get big empty void spaces like this, I find it quite difficult to get it stuffed firm the way I like it stuffed and not distort the shape. So I had to take my time with stuffing. But I think he turned out really cute. And he will definitely be more expensive than the other pattern. So I did that. And those were my big items. So last time I showed you that I did Madeline Mako's scrump. Okay, let me just do this. This is Crochet Grove. This is Madeline Mako. And when I did this one, I said I thought it was going to be about this big. Okay, so I got my patterns confused. Then there was this one. This one is also Crochet Grove. Now, on her pattern, and it's about the size I thought it was going to be, in her pattern, she didn't put eyes on hers. She just gave it a mouth. And I just so happened to have a metal die for a very small button. So I was able to make the button eyes and put them on there. And to me, they were just the right size for this size doll. But for what this is, it's a lot of work. I mean, it's not a lot of work. You make the arms, set them aside. You do one leg, set it aside, make the other. I mean, it's not that difficult. It was my first time making it. But then you have to surface crochet the hair and make the bow and stitch it on. And I'm just not sure. I mean, do you think something this small, now I have big hands, so do you think something this small can be at least $10? I mean, because otherwise, the amount of effort you have to put into this little thing, it just doesn't seem like it would be worth it. I mean, because that's the size difference. This is much cuter, I think. I like that one better. I like the sitting one, and the sitting one that's Crochet Grove's pattern is also a standing version. I just opted to do the sitting one this time. So now I have 3 different scrumps. Now this might look cute if I included it with stitch. You know, like it's the pair for whatever price. Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. So we did those. And then the last thing that I was able to do, I was able to, after my long day of very little sewing, and cleaning up my mess and then cooking dinner. Oh, just what a day. What a day. I was able to make some more of the little rubber ducky pattern, but technically we're going to call them dashboard ducks. So last time I did 3 yellow and a blue, and I said I wanted to do a pink and a green. So I got my pink. Ta-da! And I used brights again, hibiscus, and then mint. This is the same color as scrump. And then, just for good measure, we threw in a white duck. So that gives me 7 rubber duckies. 3 different size scrumps, 1 stitch, a Totoro, and everybody's favorite ogre, Shrek. Now I have to figure out prices for all this stuff. Oh my goodness. enter everything in. And only some of them are remakes, so most of them I have to make new tags for. So I'm not sure if the whole saving the tag thing is worth it and reusing them, because there is so much I won't make again. You know, they were all like one-offs, or it might be months before I make it again. Do I want to sit around and hang on to those loose little tags? I don't know. But I have all the Pokemon, which I did not get to make any extra yet. But again, I still have 2 days, so I might be able to, because those are quick. I might be able to get some of those, so I have at least 2 of each. So I have all the new Pokemon to put in. I have Jack to put in. I have the Orca that has to go in. All of these things that I just showed you, with the exception of the rubber ducks, the mini birds, the clownfish. Everything else is a new item. So I have to go right from the beginning. Anyways, just a reminder, no live this Friday because we are at market. And I'm going to miss that. I have fun at the lives. You guys have such great conversation. But I can't do it and be there at the same time. And I don't want to... I mean, I guess I could pick a different day for market weeks and still do a live. Oh, speaking of that, a few weeks ago, or a few videos ago, I was telling you that all of a sudden I started getting a ton of views and like 11,000 comments. And at first I thought it's a bot farm. And then I saw in my analytics for the Blueberry Festival video that it said that the traffic was coming from the Explore/trending page. And I took a screenshot. I'll pop it in and show you. So that made me feel a little bit more at ease about it. Well then, not yesterday, but the day before, I get notification that they have reduced my earnings from YouTube. They've taken away those views, and they were saying that it was invalid traffic. So, and that was my first thought. But then I saw in there that it said Explore Trending page. Now, unless you get like tens of thousands of views on a video, you really don't make that much on YouTube. So for that to have happened, and I mean, I'll be honest, that day, because I put up a new video, regular people that watch older videos that just happen to come along, and then that like little 24-hour cycle that I was getting all those views, and it was like on 6 different videos. My earnings for that day was $252. And I thought, now, if I can get those kind of views every day, it would be fabulous. I could make these things and just give them away. And still be able to afford to pay my bills and buy yarn and all that good stuff. But, yeah, so they sent me an email saying it was invalid traffic, and they took all that away from me. I go back to look at that video, the analytics, and that Explore/trending is not there anymore. So I kind of feel like something's funny with this. I don't know what to think about it, because it was there. I took a screenshot of it, and now it's not there. And then I don't know. But when they took away the views and they took away the money, they should have taken away the 11,000 comments so that I don't have to see. Because every day I'm like just trying to clear them out. I don't like the comments just lingering there. So every day I might only get a few done. I might get 50 done. I might get 100 done. But it's going to take me forever to get rid of those. And the only way to get rid of them is to either delete or just give it a heart. The fastest is giving it a heart. But even then, you know, only so many come up, and then you got to keep scrolling and hit the heart, blah, blah, blah. I don't mean to complain, but I just wanted to bring that up. All right, so Friday is no live. Sunday will be a market recap. Unfortunately, I am not going to be the only crochet vendor this time, but that's okay. I am still holding my spot. So Sunday will be a market recap, and we'll see you then.